Hey everybody, Pastor Zach here. There were some technical issues this morning. I don't understand fully, but I wanted to jump on and spend some time with you today as we, as always, join in for our weekly discussion. I invite you to share your comments, thoughts, questions, smart remarks as we gather together, whether now live or whether later, as you watch it whenever and wherever this finds you today. And I was curious, how do you see hope in this world? I find that a fascinating question to ask, especially now with all that is going on in the world, and that we could easily be focused on all of the negative and all of the struggles that are going on in the world. And yet, I think it's important to focus, even sometimes, on hope and what does hope look like for you, but also how do you seek to share hope with others. I found it fascinating this morning. I looked it up that hope appears over 130 times in the New Testament, depending on which translation, which I found really interesting as to how they translate hope. But in King James, it's like 130. In other translations, it's close to 150 or better. But it's this notion of this need to hear words of hope. Now, that was 2,000 years ago, over 2,000 years ago, and here we are still in need of hearing hope, still in need of experiencing hope, still in need of seeing it in the midst of our world around us with all that is going on. And so in the midst of that, I see hope. I see hope when people from our local community gather items together and money and take 6 trucks down to North Carolina to pull out their side-by-sides and share the water and everything that they've collected, and within 24 hours share so much that they had collected and come home. I see people helping one another. I see a cry of grief and hope that while people may not be able to find their loved ones alive, they may be able to find their loved ones. I see it in the midst of all of the struggles, of all of the things that are going on in our world, this desire to experience the world differently, to see hope. I was struck by this verse this morning. Now, again, I was having technical difficulties, so I had to shift around, but Romans says this, "For in this hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what they have seen? But we hope for what we do not see. We wait for it with patience." It's interesting that it seems that patience comes along with hope, that there is this understanding, this goal that what we are looking for, what we are hoping for will come to pass, but we have to be patient because it's never in our time. And that's the struggle, because we're impatient people. We want stuff done yesterday. And in the world that we live in today, we expect things now, if not sooner, with not even 1-day shipping, same-day delivery, and this notion of if we want it, we get it now. Yet this notion of hope is still present with families who have lost loved ones, with communities seeing changes going on in their world, with uncertainty abounding. There is still hope. I still have hope. I have hope for our nation, for the world. This hope is not just in humanity, because I do have hope in us, but it's also in God. I was reading something the other day that talks about where God shows up And we often want to see God show up in these big and cinematic ways. And yet, so often, God shows up in the ordinary. God shows up in the out-of-the-way places. God shows up where we least expect, when we least expect, and in people we least expect. And I think that's the same with hope. I'm already preparing for the season of Advent and Christmas, and one of the concepts of that time is that Bethlehem was this little out-of-the-way place where Jesus was born. You know, why wasn't Jesus born in Jerusalem? But there was Jesus in an out-of-the-way place. And yet, here we are. Wherever this finds you today, whatever the weather's like, wherever you experience stuff that is going on in your life, whether good or bad, whether challenging or joy-filled, and you have a decision. Do you have hope? What does that look like? How do you share it with the world? It doesn't have to be huge experiences. It doesn't have to be big gestures. It can be something simple. It can be an opportunity to interact with someone, to smile, to wave at someone, to let someone go ahead of you, to see that there is still good in another person, to find hope. It's hard to speak those words with Hurricane Milton bearing down on Florida yet again. I have colleagues and friends who serve churches and who live in the path. And yet, I believe there is hope. I believe that as communities, as nations, we will get through these struggles, these challenges. And that is how we do it, together. It's not by dividing ourselves, but it's about encouraging one another, uplifting, caring for one another, seeing one another, and hoping in the goodness of each other, the promise of each other, and the realization that while we may not always get it right, you have hope for today, and maybe that's enough, and tomorrow, because it's tough. But we can get through it. One final word from the scriptures from Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. God's promise is hope. We get to live that out. We get to experience that, and we get to share that with each other. Not just with those we like, but those we are challenged by. So I encourage you, I challenge you, because I have hope. I have hope in you. I have hope in our time together. I have hope in our community, both those here on site and those online, that we can share in God's hope together. If you are looking for a way to extend that hope, I'm going to offer you 2 ways today. The first one is to join us in worship this Sunday at 8:30 and 10:30 with our faith formation for children starting at 9 and for adults at 9:30, but also for our community that it will be gathering at Grings Mill to do a crop walk this Sunday, where we will gather together. We'll be raising money to help combat hunger in our communities and around the world. If you are unable to join, to walk with us for a little while, we invite you to give. I will post something about ways that you can give online, that you can continue to uplift God's grace, that you can offer hope to families that you may never encounter, and that we can share together the hope with one another and through one another for all the world to see. I want to thank you all for spending some time with me today. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I encourage you to share this with someone or with everyone that you know, so that you can uplift them, so that you can hope and offer hope with them. Have a great day, everybody, and a great week. We'll see you Sunday. Take care. God bless.